And the cool thing about you being part of On Deck is their flywheel, and all of their other programs are going to feed directly to you because more so than almost any other fellowship they have besides maybe writing, speaking is a skill that founders are going to need. It's a skill that writers are going to need, that podcasters are going to need, that the chief of staff, almost every single program they have could feed directly into yours. And that just amplifies the good that you'll be able to help put out into the world. So that's so exciting. Can you walk me through kind of what the cohort is going to look like when it starts in April? Like what's the curriculum? How's it structured? That kind of thing?
Yeah, so it actually will start March 20th will be kickoff. But
Okay.
in terms of the structure, so I'm kind of blending like the on deck model with my own model and kind of like that David Perel rite of passage model in a lot of ways, where there's a core curriculum and those are live sessions that I'm telling people you need to show up for. Like it's not a buffet. This is not a choose your own adventure. This is, if you want to be in the cohort, you show up to these lessons because that's where
I'm
you
glad
learn.
you're doing that. I'm really glad you're doing that.
So it's, you show up to these and they're going to be run twice. So it'll be like a Monday and a Thursday, but because it will be an international cohort, we're also going to run them Tuesday and Friday morning in the US. So like, and it's not a replay. Like I'm going to teach the whole thing. And it's essentially, I'm teaching the entire core curriculum to walk students so that we structure in a way that builds week after week after week on top of each other so they can really master this with a holistic approach when it comes to speaking. And so that core curriculum, right, deals with all these things. How do we sound like a great speaker? So dealing with some of those mindset shifts and reframing energy instead of calling it nerves, calling it excitement. How do we think about, our pacing? How do we deal with rhythm and volume and tone and all of these sort of things that we think of? How do we tell great stories? What's the structure there? What's the framework? What's the framework for performance speaking? How do we think about this? Conversational skills, listening skills. How do we interview better? How do we negotiate better? How do we use everything at our disposal as a speaker? How can we deliver an impactful pitch? What's the difference between informative versus persuasive speaking? How do we do all these things that you need to in order to be a great speaker? So some of them are prepared, some are going to be extemporaneous, because in today's world, you need to be able to do both. And so that core curriculum really walks them through that. There's also, video assignments similar to what Rite of Passage does with writing. And now what ODW2 is doing with writing as well, there will be every 2 weeks an assignment to create on video so you can get feedback and start to develop the skill and also watch other people inside of the fellowship and the way they speak, because we learn from watching great speakers, right? And we take and we say, I really like what they did there. I'm going to take that. It's funny, the last time I ran the course on my own performative speaking, I was listening to people deliver talks and I would tell them right there, I'd be like, I'm stealing that, because it was that good. And I'd be like, I'm going to start using that. It's just too good. And I really did, because, and I tell people all the time, like, steal from me. Anything I say, steal from it. Like, you don't need to credit me. You don't need to do anything. Like it's yours to use. That's just the nature of the game. But then beyond that core curriculum, there will be things like CrossFit for speaking, which you're obviously aware of with CrossFit for writing and what David does, similar idea. There's also going to be around 8 to 15 guest speakers who are coming in. So truly world-class speakers who are on the speaking circuit at huge companies doing really, really impressive things. One of which is Justin Mickeloy, the former speechwriter for General Petraeus and General Mattis, who I'm super excited about because he has just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this stuff and he's a good friend. There will be all of that. There will also be additional kind of like asynchronous elective type stuff when it comes to how do we pitch to fundraisers, how do we develop a keynote address, how do we prepare for a panel appearance, podcast appearance, all these sort of skills that you need as a speaker, if that's something that aligns with your professional goals. So beyond that, there's small groups, and we'll continue to use all those sort of tools to develop community and really build that out and make it a robust system where hopefully down the road in a year, 5 years, 10 years, people just keep looking back and they're like, man, everybody who came out of ODPS 1 is doing incredibly cool things. And they're all super close to one another and working together and getting job opportunities and building stuff. Like, I want that kind of setting to take place in ODPS 1.